We are live today with Coffee with Humans with Bruce Bright. Welcome to Coffee with Humans, Bruce.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Well, one of the things I'd like to get out of the way here is, where are you? I'm in Illinois.
I think you might have cut out, but I'm from Alabama, Birmingham.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. And you go to college down there?
I do. Yeah, I'm at Birmingham Southern College. It's a small liberal arts college right above Birmingham.
Okay. I am terrible with geography sometimes. So I know where Alabama's at, but Birmingham, north, south, east, west, where's kind of
it's like right in the middle. Like it's like right in the middle, maybe a little bit north of middle, but we're pretty central.
Okay. Awesome.
We're the biggest city in Alabama.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. I kind of felt like I knew that. I'm outside of Chicago in a little town called Rockford, which is the second or maybe third biggest city in Illinois.
Yeah, we don't have a Chicago to compete with.
No one does. Well, welcome to Coffee with Humans. This is exciting. I'm curious also, what was going through your mind when you thought, I'm going to click that button to have coffee with this guy?
So I started my podcast in December, and I've been looking to go on other people's, and most of them are like entrepreneurship or marketing, that kind of podcast. But I saw yours and I read a little bit about it, and I was kind of like, this seems like laid back. I can just talk about, it'll just be a conversation. And I kind of like that kind of podcast. That's kind of how I try to do mine. Just kind of let the conversation flow. But that's really what drew me in. It was like some guys hanging out, talking about stuff.
Yeah. And your podcast is Adventures of an Entrepreneur?
Yep. Adventures of an Entrepreneur.
Frame that for me. Who's the entrepreneur in this adventure?
Yeah. So it's really for anybody who's an entrepreneur that's listening, but I'm a young entrepreneur and I started my business in August of 2020. So not long ago. My thought process was, I want to learn from people that wouldn't talk to me otherwise. I was like, what's a good way to like connect with them and network? And a podcast was what I landed on. And so far I've talked to some incredible people that there's no way I would have talked to. I mean, they live across the world, and it's only been a few months. So the networking possibility and having a podcast to offer someone in return for listening to their story and, having their contact information alone is valuable. So that's kind of, and then anybody listening can also learn from my questions I ask them and my own business. So just kind of learn from people who've already done it is the idea.
Awesome. And are you an avid consumer of podcasts, or are you more of a producer kind of guy?
I was a big consumer during COVID lockdowns. And before that, I used to work at Domino's. So when I was driving around, I would listen to podcasts all the time. But now, since like school and basketball, I don't really have a lot of time to listen to podcasts, because I don't really listen to them unless I have like a long drive. If I still listen to them on a drive, but not super often anymore.
Yeah. I find I get recommended podcasts pretty consistently to listen to, and once in a while, once in a while I sort of binge on podcasts, and then I kind of take a little bit of time off, and I'm more off than I am on, which is interesting. But I love engaging with other folks through this medium and the video cast. And like you talk about, you meet people from all walks of life, all across the world, and the amount of learning that can be had through that, and then also doubled up with the number of connections, just true or earnest or real connections that you can make with people. I think to me, it's fascinating, and I'm not certain, particularly during lockdown, how else one would go about harvesting kind of the seeds of connection.
Yeah. I mean, I really do like the medium. I just don't have a lot of time to listen to them, but I do love podcasts.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the entrepreneurship game. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
When we were talking right before the broadcast, I asked you, what if you were to title this chat, like what was on your mind? You talked about this idea of changing gears because it sounds like you're winding down some things in college, and I termed it like you're moving from one era to another one, and that's a process. It's a learning process. What's been going on for you?
So I've been playing basketball my whole life now, so probably like 20 years around there. And I didn't know I was going to play in college, but in high school, I started playing well and it started becoming clear that I could. And I could have gone to Alabama. I was already enrolled in classes, had my roommates in University of Alabama, like the big university. And that's why I have a Tua jersey back here. I'm an Alabama fan. Um, but I decided I was like, I can't go back and play basketball, but I can always quit basketball and just transfer to a state school and have that experience if I want. So I went to play basketball, and now I've played 4 years of college basketball. Haven't won a conference championship, which is the goal every year. And then we would normally go to the national tournament, but they're canceled this year. But now there's games left, so we only have to. We win 2 games and we get championship rings, and that's been the goal for 4 years, and it's been growing since August. And it's very hard to balance that. I mean, and class, but my classes are pretty relaxed this semester because I'm a second semester senior, so I'm only taking 3 classes and they're not overly difficult. So those are on the back burner in my head, on the totem pole of my priorities. But yeah, I'm just trying to balance this new business that's growing and not like letting it take a dive or our quality of work go bad, and also focus on basketball. I only have a week left, so I'm really focused on basketball. I know I could be focused 100% on the business and it would be doing better. And it's not doing bad, but it would be doing better if I was focusing on it more. And I'm just gonna dive into this last week. It's already Tuesday, so on Saturday it'll be over, and we'll either have won or lost, and the season will be over, and then I can start working on the business more full time. But that's kind of where my head is at. I'm in that in between stage, and it's difficult for sure.
Yeah. How have you, as you've seen this coming, because I know it didn't just happen. You didn't just come into this point like, oh my God, things are changing. You had kind of a ramp up period. How have you been dealing with that? What kind of coping skills have you been putting in place?
Coping skills. I've been waking up earlier just out of necessity because I have to get more done in the day now, like with homework and basketball and the business. So out of necessity, I get up earlier now. I plan out my days now on my calendar. I block the time out. That's also kind of out of necessity. I mean, if I didn't do that, I would be really stressed all the time, thinking I forgot stuff. But that's really it. I mean, I do a lot of planning, so that's probably helped my stress level and the execution of the plan, because I knew mid-March was going to be the time when the season ended and I would start turning the next page of the business. And I was like, okay, so I'll roll out, like I'll slowly kind of transition over so that it's kind of picking up while we're like ending. And I'm not where I thought I would be, but we're getting a little bit more business than I thought we would right now. So it makes it difficult. It's a good problem to have, but it's difficult to balance it when I have one employee, but he has class like all day, and it could be going a little better, but for this last week, it'll do fine, and then we'll pick it back up.
I chuckle because not many folks who are in college also couple that with I have one employee, he's got class all day. It's an interesting juxtaposition of worlds. And I recalling my own travels through time, and it's been a while since I've been in college, and I never completed college, unfortunately. But I remember having businesses and making money,
Yeah.
you know, doing productive things, doing things I liked to do, and wanted to do and was good at through college. It sounds to me like you're a pretty driven guy. And if you're a planner and already learning, how to block out times, um, I don't know. It seems like you're certainly ahead of the game, probably much ahead of many of your peers, I would guess.
I like to think so. I don't really know, but I just yeah, I don't really know. Maybe, probably the majority. I know there's some successful people out there in college, but the more I like compare myself to them, like the less like I got to find a way to, and this I kind of flip back and forth uh, with this thought processes, but it's like I got to find a way to stay like motivated and stay like where I need to be to perform the best with my whole life, like basketball, the business, everything. And I know I perform best when I'm like really like not proud, but like really like I'm doing good right now. Like I'm on a roll and I get a little roll going and I don't see other people doing it. And then I'm like, I'm doing something right. But if I focus on like even more successful people than me in college that I know, I'm like, damn, they're beating me like every day. And I know it's not like a competition, but in my head, I'm like, they're ahead of me. Like, I mean, what I'm doing is not that big of a deal. And then that's just not where I need to be headspace wise. So I've tried not to, it's just me running the race and I'm trying to beat myself and my own goals. So I do like learning from those people, but try not to compare.
Yeah,
I'll
I think
compare later down the line.
yeah, one of the challenges I think of coming from basketball, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this. I think you might find it to be true. One of the challenges of of playing basketball is that in basketball, there's one winner and everybody else is a loser. And if we looked at life or particularly businesses that way, then it's we tend, I've felt this too, tended to be in this mode where I have to win, and if I can't win, then I shouldn't try because I'm going to lose. Instead of treating it like swimming, and in swimming, everybody competes against their own time because you can only be as fast as you, but you're competing against the other people on your team as well. And the process of competing against yourself and your own capability is kind of becomes the focal point rather than competing against the other folks, because everybody has vastly different capabilities, particularly in swimming. And it's not that people don't have that in basketball, but basketball and football and some of those sports tend to focus on one winner and everybody else is a loser, which is not the game of life. Certainly not the game of business and entrepreneurship. And in fact, I think in a lot of industries, you expect to have a handful of larger players come out and sort of own the market, and then everybody else kind of fills in the gaps. But you expect to have competition. You expect to have somebody else who has a competing product, and that becomes a good thing because one of the I think one of the principles of becoming a better is to have competition and invite competition.
No, it's for sure. I mean, basketball definitely is probably where that competitiveness comes from. And I think there's like a place for that in business. Like I mean, it's not the most helpful way of thinking, but it can be if you work that way, if you need that like drive to push yourself. but also I think it is more of like that swimming, like you're just trying to beat your PR. Like, what do you make this year? Let's go beat it next year, that kind of thing with entrepreneurship. So I think you can get in some trouble when you start comparing yourself to other more successful people, because there's always going to be more successful people. And I mean, you can't, unless you're the richest man in the world, then you won. But I mean, you're never going to be.
Even that is fleeting. I mean, it just takes a little market downturn, and all of a sudden you're bent to the richest to be the second richest. And it's like, and it ultimately, it's up at some point in time, who cares? It's like,
Sure.
how much is enough, right? And that's where I guess every entrepreneur gets to craft their life. And if your business isn't creating a life for you that you want, then why are you in business? I mean, that's kind of one of the secrets. Maybe it's hard to find that, but yeah, you can go get a job and work less and have less responsibility and sometimes make more money. So if being an entrepreneur and having a business isn't creating the lifestyle that you want, then there's no reason to do it. But
Yeah.
it sounds like you're on a good track, man. That's super exciting. I love, I've worked with lots of entrepreneurs through the years. It's a good energy. I'm sort of I remember leaving basketball games with my dad, years ago. And there was a local basketball pro or semi-pro, I don't even know, team. And and I remember just like screaming like, because I would always like, crush the competition. And then, like we get to the parking lot, we'd be driving like a bat out of hell. It's just like all that energy built up. And I have felt that energy at times, thinking back in the various business things I've been involved in. Sometimes felt that energy like crush the competition. So yeah, I don't know. It's fun.
It is fun. I'm having a great time with entrepreneurship, and it's just like kind of like a game, but the goal is just trying to make money. So.
Yeah. So yeah, have you heard of those was it B Corps now? Where the goal is it's not only to make money, but also to bring value to the world. And there's some sort of measurement. The question is, how much, are you creating value in the world? And maybe money is a measure of that. But B Corps, I think it's the new thing in the past 5-7 years, something like that. And the idea is that they assign some sort of measurement to social good, and you get certified. You become a certified B Corp for the social good that you're doing as well, which I think isn't. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting maturation of business. I mean, if we look at businesses in the past. And certainly other cultures, you might be the baker in town, and you're serving your people, you're serving your community through baking, or you might be the shoemaker. You serve your community through, making shoes, or you might be the blacksmith. You make or fix the things that are metal. Simple society. Money is just an exchange of value so that we can go off and get the other things that we need. And it was sort of, business out of necessity. And then if we fast forward to now it's business to make a bunch of money to make a bigger business, to make more money, to make a bigger business, to make more money, to make a bigger business, to make more money, to make bigger. It's like, to what end? It's like,
What's the purpose? I've thought about that for sure. And I haven't landed on a good answer yet. And I think it's because I just haven't had enough time in life yet to find a purpose. Because I know I will need at some point, making money is not going to do it for me. And right now I haven't made enough money to where I'm at that point. It's still got me going right now. But eventually I'm going to make enough money to where the game isn't fun anymore, and I'll need something else to drive me. And I know that, and I've thought about it, but I just can't come up with anything that's impacted my life like that yet. And I think it's just because I haven't seen enough of the world. I mean, or lived long enough to find a deeper purpose yet. But I'm prepared to find one, and
Yeah.
when I do, I'm sure that'll be the next chapter, and I'll dive headfirst into that one. And also, if I've got money from this, it will make it easier. I bet. So that
Yeah.
money can't buy everything.
Yeah. I look at Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as a great model, because Bill was admittedly a slave driver at Microsoft, and an expert in the stuff that he was doing, and clearly good politician, and could navigate people and situations and whatnot. Obviously became very rich. He was there at the right time with the right product, and the money now is used to solve big problems that only that amount of money can solve. Because sometimes, if you're gonna eradicate malaria from a continent, or bring clean water to a billion people, you need cash.
Yeah.
And so, the money there is for the good. And I also look at Elon Musk and SpaceX, and one of the if you look at his quotes are never about money or about prestige or about fame or anything like that. His quotes are more like, and I can't find it, I was trying to look for it real fast, about how he says, kind of like why. It answers the question of why build rockets to tour the stars. And he says, well, there's a quote on there, something like, because we believe that a something like, we believe that a life to living among the stars, or being able to see the stars, is more interesting than a life without. It's something that simple and sincere, and um it's like, okay, well, why are you doing all that? It's like, well, because it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
why would you not want to go there? And you need cash. You need a lot of money to do that. um and it reminds me, in both cases, because the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation started a thing where to get, along with Warren Buffett and a handful of others, created this plan where these multi-billionaires would basically give most of their wealth away to philanthropy, to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and others, um, to be able to solve big problems that only that amount of money can solve. And then SpaceX, living, why not live among the stars if you can? It goes back to me, it seems, goes back to this idea of, why do you do the things you do? And connecting to a bigger vision or a bigger dream. And when you connect to a bigger vision and a bigger dream, money follows. And it's almost like it's more sustainable that way too, because it's that dream, it's that vision, it's that big why, that people want to feel connected to something bigger than themselves. And when we try and manufacture that greatness, as to say, well, I'm just, look at me, like, I'm TikTok famous or whatever, look at all these followers and stuff that I have. It's like, yeah, okay, that's cool, but tomorrow there could be nothing, because your why was just that people would look at you. That's not enough. We all know intuitively that's not enough. But when the why is, but we could tour the stars, or listen, we could resolve malaria and clean water for the world. It's like, oh, well, shit, I'll get behind that. I feel like at some point in time, people have the opportunity to come to that realization and think, okay, well, why am I why am I doing this anyhow? And and there's a fundamental shift, I think, that happens in a person's heart to, and then the community changes around them to support that.
Yeah. It's like a deeper why, a deeper purpose in life. And I think when we're being genuine or being their like true self and like they're following like their dream, I think people can tell. And I think people can tell even subconsciously if you're kind of faking it. I mean, I've listened to some podcasts where I'm like, I don't know about this one. Like, it's just kind of, it doesn't sound real, So I think it's kind of the same thing there. It's like when people are really doing their thing, like they're following their dream, and you can tell when they're talking about it, how passionate they are about it. I think that's kind of where that like energy comes from. And people that.
I like that idea. I like that thought. So I've got this. Have you seen Uncle John's Bathroom Reader?
I have not.
Okay, Uncle John's Bathroom Reader. My parents get this. It's like a page a day calendar thing.
Okay.
My parents get it for me every year for Christmas. Which I wonder who's going to get this when my parents die. Who's going to get this for me for Christmas? I don't know. I don't even know why that was just a thought. That's a ridiculous thought to have. But so when you open it up, and I'm not sponsored by them. I just I read this every day. And this one has doing business is today's little thing. So what did they say here? Okay, so this is talking about Howard Johnson's. You've ever heard of Howard Johnson's?
I don't think so. Howard Johnson's?
Yeah. So it says before fast food restaurants could be found on every off-ramp in the country, there was one national chain that travelers could count on to serve up familiar, reliable meals, Howard Johnson's. At its peak in the 1950s, there were more than 600 orange-roofed Hojo's restaurants dotting the American highway system, where millions of families stopped in for hot dogs, clam rolls, and ice cream. Clam rolls? What's in a clam roll? I don't know. Howard Johnson's did so well that many other companies jumped into the ring, inspiring the rise of fast food as we know it. But the new places also offered drive-through service, which most menu items made in advance, so customers could be on their way. Howard Johnson's was dine-in only. By the 1980s, most Howard Johnson's restaurants were gone, and the last one in the resort town of Lake George, New York, closed in 2017. An interesting lesson. There was a Howard Johnson's in Rockford that we next to my parents' office, and I think they had a pool in there at one point in time. They sold membership to the pool, but yeah, true, it totally closed. But it's interesting. Howard Johnson's inspired the fast food restaurant chain game, but they didn't have drive-through service because they were so stuck on their dine-in only model, and they eventually faded into obscurity, taken over by competition.
They didn't adapt.
Yeah. There's also a little interesting thing here. More photos are taken every 2 minutes today than were taken in the whole of the 1800s. Every 2 minutes.
Wow. I mean, I believe that, and that makes sense, but that's a lot. I wonder what the number in the 1800s was if we're just blowing that out of the water.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
There's no way to tell. Are you up for playing a game?
Sure.
All right. We're going to play Whatchamadraw It. Whatchamadraw It. I'm going to put this on the screen here. I think. Share screen. Click the button. Boom. All right. So we're going to play Whatchamadraw It. I also have to make sure I have my audio set up properly. There we go. Whatchamadraw It. Oh, how do I do this? There we go. I feel like I should be more natural at this by now. All right. So Whatchamadraw It goes like this. We're going to have a card that comes up on the screen. This says, draw a frog sitting in a canoe headed for a waterfall. Your video is frozen. I don't know why.
Can you hear me?
We will have, I can hear you totally fine. Yeah. We have 1 minute. We'll have 1 minute to draw this, whatever this card is. There'll be 3 of these things. And so we'll have three drawing opportunities to win the game of whatchamajrot.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay. Like a piece of paper.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. You'll draw it on a piece of paper, and then we'll show it to the screen. I'm going to see if I jumpstart your screen. You're frozen there. Can you see yourself?
I can see myself, and I'm moving.
Okay. All right. We'll go with it. Okay. Technology on a live show. I love it. Okay. You're okay. Let's see here. Are you ready for the first one?
Yep.
Okay. Draw a planet where people walk upside down. Draw a planet where people walk upside down. You have 1 minute. This is difficult.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
How would people walk upside down? Makes no sense. Oh. All right, here we go. I figured it out.
"30 seconds.
Oh boy.
Ten seconds. Three, two, one.
Okay.
Am I still frozen?
Nope, you're good. All right. So a planet where people walk upside down. I'm curious how you solved this issue. I feel like I asked you to play this game, so I'll go first, so as to not cause undue anxiety on your part.
Okay.
I decided that it is a planet where people live underground, and I recognize that this breaks the laws, all sorts of laws of gravity.
Okay.
So
Mine
maybe
also does. Mine also breaks those laws. I went with a flat Earth, and they all live on the bottom side.
And the mass is on the other side, so maybe it doesn't break the laws of gravity. I don't know. The flat Earth. Oh my God, I can't wait to get somebody on here that we can debate flat Earth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a believer, but I had to do it for the scenario.
But wouldn't it be fun to be a believer? Oh, remember that poor guy who, well, he was doing it for a stunt, constantly launching rockets. He launched himself in a rocket. He ended up dying to prove the flat Earth. His flat Earth thing is like, you're doing his publicity stunt.
Yeah.
You ever seen Land of the Lost with Will Ferrell?
I have.
That's so talking about like living underground. That's what I was thinking of when when I was thinking of this flat Earth thing. There we go. Or not flat Earth. The walking upside down is like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. Maybe that doesn't work out. There we go. Whoa, what the heck is happening? What have we done? There we go. Okay, second one. Ready?
Yep. Ready.
Draw a special phone that can only call superheroes. Special phone that can only call superheroes. I don't even know how you prove that.
I'm also trying. Okay.
I'm having a real difficult time here.
30 seconds.
I had one idea, and now I'm running with it.
I've stumbled upon an idea.
Ten seconds. Three, two, one.
All right.
All right, I'll go first this time.
Okay, you're up.
All right, so I went with, do you remember those tiny phones they had for little children that only call like your mom, dad, and like the police? It had like instant call buttons. So I went with one of those, and it's just like all superhero logos. But I only had time for Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. Then it was Hulk and Captain America were my next two.
Ah, so good. So good. Well, we were very similar on this one. I decided to try the same thing, and I only had time for Superwoman, Superman, Captain America, and Batman.
So three of the same.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
This is good. All right, we'll see what this third one holds for us.
All right.
Draw a person with super long legs, super short arms, and a super big mouth.
Yeah, here we go.
Super long legs, super short arms.
Seconds.
They did say person, so maybe I'm cheating here. Oh,
10 seconds.
Golly. Person with super long legs, super short arms, super big
3,
mouth.
2, 1.
All right.
Okay. All right, pens down. Super long legs, super short arms, super big mouth. Ready for this magic?
Yep.
I went with sort of like an Eggman.
A Mr. Potato Head.
Cheating. And for scale, I put a normal sized person down at the bottom just to make sure that everybody knew he had super long legs.
That's good. That's good. I didn't think about putting some scale.
See, yours looks like a person. That's the key. You actually have pants on. I had stick Eggman.
Taking some college art class. It's probably where it comes from.
That's probably true. I missed some chat comments because I'm an amateur at this whole thing. I missed some chat comments from our discussion before. Before we get to those, who do you think won this round? I think you clearly get number 3 because yours looks like
we both had the same idea for the phone.
that's true.
And then what was the first one? Oh, the first one was the walking upside down.
I go with mine clearly. There's not even you had. I have to give you the first one.
So it's 2-1.
Yeah. Damn.
It's close though.
That was very close. Ian, I missed Ian. Signing in from LinkedIn.
I'm looking at
the chat here. So make money. I did something for me a few times. Then I fell in love with manufacturing and spent the majority of my adult life designing and creating technology. Now at 48, multiple nervous breakdowns in 2019. I started a whole power brain training center in Tucson, or Tustin, I thought it was Tucson, Arizona. I should read more carefully. Tustin, California. Now after COVID, totally sending our amazing training center on its head, we pivot again. I'm financially worse off than I have ever been in my entire life, and I'm happy. Happy because I finally found balance. Interesting. Spend a large majority of my time pouring into others and staying in a state of love and joy.
What is the right and left hemisphere? I mean, I know what that is, but like, what is 80%?
Oh, that's good. That's a good question. What do you say here?
80% right hemisphere, 20% left hemisphere.
Oh, okay. So I think he's talking about, and only he can clarify, but I think he's talking about the he's pouring into others and being relational, 80%, and then 20% being more analytical and
You're right.
Interesting thoughts. I think everybody skins this cat totally differently, but what you were talking about earlier in this entrepreneurship and balancing, balance came up in a discussion last week, maybe the week before, and I got a call about it afterwards, and somebody was sharing their idea of balance. How do you balance all the things in life? And one of the things that came up was that in terms of finding balance is you get, let's say you have 100% of your energy to apply in a given day, and you have 100% of the things that you need or want to engage in. And instead of finding balance by focusing on one thing at a time, and I know this is not quite the way to say it, but think of your life as a whole, and I think it applies to business as well. What percentage of the needs that you have at that moment and the things that you want to invest in, are you investing in the right percentages to achieve whatever you want for your life balance? So physical needs, spiritual needs, mental health needs, and then in the business, is the business applying, and this is kind of what I think what Ian talked about, is the business applying certain effort to social values or certain things to employees or certain things to marketing or certain things to whatever it is. I don't know. Lots of ways to think about it, but everybody's got a different way of discovering what works, and I think it's different for each of us.
It definitely is. And it's like your life balance is going to be different than somebody else's, like your needs and wants, especially with like stress. Like some people can handle stress a lot better. That's why it's like not everyone's supposed to be an entrepreneur, even though when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why wouldn't everybody try to be one? But it's not, I mean, everyone can't be one, and it's also everyone doesn't need to be one. I mean, it's like you can work a job and make plenty of money and have security, and there's a place. I mean, we need more employees than entrepreneurs, obviously, because companies need people to work for them. But it's like not everyone's made to do it, and not everyone wants to do it. So just like what balance you need in your
different
life.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
It requires something of each of an individual that not everybody can give or should give or wants to give, and that's okay. That's totally fine. I think of vacation towns, like sleepy little towns, let's say, and Ian's chiming back in here.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sleepy little towns where people can build businesses, just inviting inviting people to stay at their, bed and breakfast or something like that. Or it's a business.
I agree with Ian, but
I'll put Ian's chats here up on the screen.
okay.
I'm not prepared for this whole chat thing. This is something new, and I have to redo the header on this thing because the chats actually can display over on the left-hand side, or is it right-hand side? It's right-hand side for me.
Yeah.
Which I think might be. So if I took that overlay off, you'll see the message from audience will display here. What do you think about this? Before we go, I know we're butting up on our end of our time here, but what do you think about if I just had the chats that ran along the side, and whatever people put up and engaged with, it would just like show up there? You think that's
cool? Yeah, I mean, it's like Twitch streams. Like they've always got so they can't see the chat otherwise.
Not until I click the button to put them up on the screen. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's kind of cool.
I think it's cool. I mean, if somebody puts something that you don't want up there, it could get troublesome. Like if they're just like posting like an ad or something like their business. But
that could be a problem.
I think it's cool. Otherwise.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll try and roll with that. Because it depends on the time of day and that type of stuff, but sometimes folks really engage in the chat. And I think they might engage more if it didn't just go off into this, into this void. But you felt like, hey, I'm getting some positive feedback. Well, Ian, thanks so much for watching and listening. We put your other chats up there earlier. That was great. And that's, oh man, I've done everything I was inspired to do. I felt that was the best example for my children. Yeah, absolutely.
It's the dream.
It is, isn't it? I think people want to believe that there's a way to live that way. And when they see other people figuring that out, they get inspired. And I think it's the process. I've come to believe it's the process of figuring it out that is the key. Because that's where all the learning happens. Well, cool. Any other words that you want to leave us with, Bruce? I'll put your link up there. Adventuresofanentrepreneur.co is your podcast.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to check out the podcast, talk to some incredible people, incredible entrepreneurs, multimillionaires, all the way down to just small business owners that are my personal friends. So it's a wide range of people. Amen. Yeah, I'm on there. There's a contact me form. You can also go to my Instagram. It's at Bruce Bright Jr. And I'm on there a fair amount also. But yeah, it's been awesome talking to you.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for being on Coffee with Humans. Thanks to all of our viewers and listeners. Ian, thanks for joining in on the chat. And then we will see you all on the next episode of Coffee with Humans, where strangers become friends, making the world a better place. Peace out. One of the things I love about Coffee with Humans are the raw conversations I get to have, meeting new people just like you. If you or someone you know should be on Coffee with Humans, go to coffeewithhumans.com. Remember, the only rule is no sales calls. This has been Coffee with Humans. Subscribe to get updates or click to have coffee with me. coffeewithhumans.com.